What if the secret to younger skin and sustained energy wasn't hidden in a laboratory, but quietly sitting on a plate, waiting at the end of your day? For decades, we've been told that aging is a slow, irreversible decline, a process dictated by time, genetics, and inevitability. But modern science is beginning to challenge that narrative. What we now understand is something far more empowering. Aging is not just about time passing. It is about how our cells respond to time. And one of the most overlooked windows of influence is the final few hours before sleep. You see, as night approaches, your biology doesn't simply shut down. It transitions into a deeply orchestrated state of repair. Your skin cells begin regenerating. Your brain initiates detoxification through the glymphatic system. Your metabolism recalibrates. Hormones like growth hormones surge quietly, rebuilding, restoring, renewing. Now imagine this. What if a simple traditional Japanese food consumed before bed could amplify these natural processes? In Japan, where longevity is not an aspiration, but a cultural norm, certain nighttime dietary rituals have been practiced for generations, and today, science is catching up to explain why. Researchers studying fermented foods, amino acid signaling, and circadian nutrition from institutions like Kyoto University and the National Institute on Aging are uncovering how specific compounds can influence collagen production, mitochondrial efficiency, and even cellular repair while we sleep. So this isn't just about food. It's about timing. It's about biology. It's about unlocking a system within you that already knows how to heal if you give it the right signals. Hey, do not forget to hit that like button if this content resonates with you, and subscribe so you never miss our deep dives into natural health solutions. We would love to know where our amazing community spans. Drop your city or country in the comments below. Now, let us explore why one simple Japanese nighttime food might become your most powerful ally for younger skin, deeper sleep, and lasting energy. There is a quiet transformation that happens beneath your skin every night, one that most people never think about. While you sleep, your body shifts into what we might call a biological restoration mode. Blood flow to the skin increases. Growth hormone is released in pulses, and fibroblasts, the very cells responsible for producing collagen, become more active. In simple terms, your skin doesn't age evenly throughout the day. It repairs itself most intensely at night. Now here's where it becomes fascinating. Traditional Japanese foods like natto, fermented soybeans, and even simple preparations like warm miso-based broths contain amino acids such as glycine, proline, and glutamic acid. These are not just nutrients. They are building blocks, signals, instructions. Research published in journals like Dermatoendocrinology and supported by findings from the National Institute on Aging has shown that collagen synthesis is highly dependent on amino acid availability, especially during periods of hormonal repair like sleep. So when you consume these compounds before bed, you're not just eating healthy, you're timing your nutrition to coincide with your body's peak regenerative window. Think of it like this. Imagine a construction crew that only works at night, rebuilding roads, repairing structures, restoring what was worn down during the day. Now imagine trying to supply them with materials in the morning after they've already finished their work. That's what most of us do. But when you nourish your body before sleep, you're delivering raw materials exactly when the repair crew arrives. And there's more. Glycine, one of the most abundant amino acids in collagen-rich and fermented foods, has also been shown to improve sleep quality itself. A study from the Japanese Society of Sleep Research found that glycine supplementation before bed helped participants fall asleep faster and experience deeper, more restorative sleep cycles. So now we see a dual effect. You're not only supporting collagen production, you're enhancing the very sleep architecture that makes that repair possible. Have you ever noticed how your skin looks different after a truly restful night versus after poor sleep? That's not just perception, that's biology in action. So here's a simple, actionable tool you can begin tonight. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, consider incorporating a small portion of a fermented Japanese food like natto or even a light miso soup. Keep it simple. Keep it consistent. You're not trying to overload the system. You're sending a signal, a whisper, not a shout. Because longevity is not built through extremes. It is shaped through rhythms. And as you begin to align what you eat with when your body heals, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. You're no longer just aging. You're participating in your own renewal. If the skin is the mirror, the gut is the architect. And what happens in your gut overnight may be one of the most underestimated forces shaping not only how you look, but how you feel, think, and age. Inside, you lives a vast microbial ecosystem, trillions of bacteria, forming what scientists now call the gut microbiome. This system is not passive. It is dynamic, intelligent, and deeply responsive to what and when you eat. Now here's something most people don't realize. Your microbiome has its own circadian rhythm. Research from institutions like the Salk Institute for Biological Studies has shown that gut bacteria fluctuate in composition and activity depending on the time of day. At night, as your body prepares for fasting and repair, certain beneficial microbes become more active, particularly those involved in anti-inflammatory signaling and metabolic regulation. So what happens when you introduce fermented Japanese foods before bed? Foods like natto, miso, and tsukemono, pickled vegetables, are rich in probiotics, living microorganisms that can temporarily integrate into your gut environment. But more importantly, they contain prebiotic substrates and bioactive compounds that feed your existing beneficial bacteria. Think of your gut like a rainforest. During the day, it's active, noisy, constantly processing inputs. But at night, something different happens. Restoration, rebalancing, quiet growth. And when you provide the right nutrients before sleep, you're essentially fertilizing that ecosystem at the exact moment it's most receptive. A 2020 study published in Cell Metabolism demonstrated that timed feeding could significantly alter microbiome diversity and improve metabolic outcomes even without changing total calorie intake. Let that sink in. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat that determines how your internal ecosystem evolves. Now connect this back to your skin and energy. An imbalanced microbiome can increase intestinal permeability, sometimes referred to as leaky gut, allowing inflammatory molecules to enter the bloodstream. This low-grade inflammation doesn't stay in the gut, it travels. It shows up as dull skin, breakouts, fatigue, even brain fog. But when your microbiome is supported, especially overnight, it begins producing beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut barrier, and even influence collagen integrity in the skin. So the effect becomes systemic. You're not just feeding bacteria, You're orchestrating a cascade of signals that ripple through your entire body by morning. Here's a simple framework you can apply. In the evening, aim for a light, fermented addition to your routine, not a heavy meal, but a strategic input. A small bowl of miso soup, a serving of fermented vegetables, or natto paired with something simple. Consistency matters more than quantity. Have you ever woken up feeling unexpectedly clear, energized, almost reset? That may not be random. That may be the result of a well-aligned internal ecosystem doing exactly what it was designed to do. And if this insight is opening your eyes to how deeply connected your body truly is, consider subscribing, because what we're uncovering here is just the beginning of how small, intentional habits can reshape your biology. Because in the end, health is not built in isolated systems. It is grown in relationships between cells, between microbes, and between the choices you make, especially in the quiet hours before sleep. Deep within every cell of your body, there is a structure so fundamental to your vitality that scientists often describe it as the energy currency of life: the mitochondria. These microscopic power plants convert the food you eat into ATP, the molecule that fuels everything from muscle contraction to brain activity. But what's less commonly understood is this: mitochondria are not static. They are constantly being repaired, recycled, and renewed, especially during sleep. And here is where our story takes a fascinating turn. Certain traditional Japanese foods, particularly fermented ones like natto, contain naturally occurring bioactive compounds such as spermidine, along with amino acid derivatives that influence cellular metabolism. Spermidine, in particular, has been widely studied in aging research, including work from institutions like the Max Planck Institute for Biology of Aging, where it has been linked to enhanced mitochondrial function and increased autophagy activity in model organisms. In simpler terms, spermidine helps your cells clean up damaged components and recycle them into new functional structures, including mitochondria themselves. Now imagine your mitochondria as thousands of tiny batteries inside your body. Throughout the day, they discharge energy as you think, move, and live. By night, they enter a maintenance phase. Damaged parts are identified. Inefficient components are broken down. New mitochondrial networks are formed. But this process depends heavily on signals, nutritional and metabolic cues that tell your cells it is safe to repair now. When you consume nutrient-dense, fermentation-rich foods before sleep, you are not just providing calories. You are influencing the biochemical environment that determines how efficiently this nightly repair cycle unfolds. There is also another layer: oxidative stress. A 2018 review in Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology highlighted that mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative damage are central drivers of aging and fatigue. When mitochondria become inefficient, they leak reactive oxygen species molecules that damage proteins, lipids, and DNA. But here is the remarkable part: improving mitochondrial quality can reverse part of this cascade. And this is where timing becomes critical again. During sleep, when cortisol levels drop and growth hormone rises, the body is primed for mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new, more efficient energy-producing structures. Nutrients that support this process are most effective when aligned with this window. So what does this mean in practical terms? It means that a small, intentional evening intake of fermented, nutrient-rich Japanese food is not simply healthy eating. It is metabolic signaling. It is instructing your cells on how to generate energy tomorrow based on what you provide tonight. Have you ever experienced a morning where your energy feels effortless, as if your body is running on a cleaner, more stable fuel? That sensation may be the result of improved mitochondrial efficiency occurring silently overnight. And the more consistently you support this process, the more your baseline energy shifts, not through stimulation, but through restoration. Because true energy is not something you force. It is something your cells produce when they are well maintained, well timed, and well supported. If there is one principle that quietly governs nearly every system in your body, it is this: biology is rhythmic. Your heart beats in rhythm. Your breath flows in rhythm. Even your genes are not constantly active. They turn on and off according to a precise internal clock. This internal timing system is known as the circadian rhythm, and it is orchestrated by a master regulator in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. But what's even more remarkable is that your organs, your liver, gut, skin, and even fat tissue each carry their own peripheral clocks. So in a very real sense, you are not one clock. You are a symphony of clocks. Now here's where modern lifestyle creates a subtle but powerful disruption. Late night eating, irregular meal timing, and highly processed foods can desynchronize these biological clocks. When your digestive system is active at the wrong time, your liver is still trying to process nutrients while your brain is attempting to initiate deep repair. The result is internal misalignment, a state researchers often refer to as circadian desynchrony. A growing body of research, including findings published in Nature Communications, shows that circadian misalignment is linked to increased inflammation, impaired glucose metabolism, and accelerated biological aging. But there is another side to this story, one that is deeply hopeful, because circadian systems are also highly responsive to correction. And food timing is one of the most powerful signals we can use. Traditional Japanese eating patterns often emphasize earlier, lighter dinners and minimal nighttime digestive load. Fermented foods like miso and natto, when consumed in small quantities before bed, do something subtle but profound. They provide bioactive compounds without overwhelming the digestive system. This allows the body to remain in a rest and repair state while still receiving molecular signals that support recovery. Think of it like this: your body is an orchestra preparing for a quiet movement, a slow nocturne of restoration. But if the percussion section keeps playing loudly at the wrong time, the entire performance becomes chaotic. Food is one of those instruments. When timed poorly, it creates noise. When timed wisely, it creates harmony. There is also evidence from chrononutrition research suggesting that evening intake of certain amino acids and fermented compounds can influence melatonin production, the hormone that regulates sleep onset and quality. Improved melatonin signaling doesn't just help you fall asleep faster. It enhances deep sleep cycles where cellular repair is most active. So what does alignment actually feel like? It often feels deceptively simple. You fall asleep more easily. You wake up without mental fog. Your energy feels stable rather than spiky. Your hunger feels more regulated the next day. These are not random improvements. They are signs that your internal clocks are beginning to synchronize again. Here is a practical framework. In the evening, aim for light, predictable, low-stress nourishment, not stimulation, not excess. Think of it as sending a closing signal to your metabolism, a gentle message that says, the day is complete, repair can begin. Have you noticed how even small disruptions in your evening routine can ripple into your entire next day? That is circadian biology at work. And once you begin respecting this rhythm, not fighting it, something powerful happens. Your body stops reacting to time and starts cooperating with it. And if this perspective is reshaping how you think about health and timing, consider subscribing, because what we're building here is not just knowledge, but a new relationship with your biology itself. There is a form of aging that you can see and a form you cannot. Wrinkles, gray hair, and slower movement are visible expressions of time. But beneath the surface, a more influential process is always at work: chronic, low-grade inflammation. Scientists now often refer to this phenomenon as inflammaging. It is not the sharp, obvious inflammation you feel with injury or infection. Instead, it is subtle, persistent, a quiet biological smolder that gradually alters how your cells function over time. And it is now recognized as one of the central drivers of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, metabolic dysfunction, and even skin aging. A growing body of research, including work published in journals like Nature Reviews Immunology, shows that controlling inflammatory signaling is one of the most powerful levers we have for extending health span. Now here is where our Japanese nighttime ritual becomes particularly interesting. Traditional fermented foods like natto and miso are rich in bioactive peptides, isoflavones, and microbial metabolites that influence inflammatory pathways in the body. These compounds interact with immune signaling networks such as NF-kappa B, a key molecular switch that regulates the expression of inflammatory genes. When NF-kappa B activity is chronically elevated, inflammation becomes persistent. But when it is modulated downward, the body shifts into a more restorative state. Think of inflammation like a fire alarm system. When it works properly, it protects you. It responds to danger. It saves your life. But when it becomes oversensitive, it starts reacting to harmless stimuli, triggering unnecessary alarms that slowly wear down the system. Now imagine what happens when you consistently provide your body with foods that help recalibrate this alarm system. You are not turning off inflammation, you are restoring its intelligence. There is also another important mechanism at play: the gut-immune connection. As we discussed earlier, your microbiome plays a major role in regulating immune activity. When beneficial bacteria are supported, especially through fermented foods, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. These molecules have been shown to reduce intestinal inflammation and strengthen the gut barrier, preventing inflammatory compounds from leaking into circulation. A study in gut microbes highlighted that diets rich in fermented foods are associated with increased microbial diversity and reduced markers of systemic inflammation. So what does this mean in the context of a bedtime ritual? It means that your evening meal is not just about digestion, it is about immune programming. At night, your body naturally shifts toward repair and immune recalibration. If you overwhelm it with heavy inflammatory foods, you interfere with this process. But if you provide gentle, fermentation-rich nourishment, you support the transition into a regulated, balanced immune state. And over time, this matters profoundly, because lower inflammation does not just mean fewer symptoms. It means clearer skin. It means more stable energy. It means slower biological aging at the cellular level. Have you ever noticed that after periods of clean eating and better sleep, your entire body feels lighter? Not just physically, but internally. That sensation is often the reduction of inflammatory load. So here is a simple guiding principle you can apply. In the evening, choose foods that reduce biological noise, not increase it. Think simplicity. Think fermentation. Think nourishment that signals safety to your immune system. Because when your body feels safe, it stops defending itself unnecessarily. And when it stops defending, it starts repairing. And if this insight is helping you see health through a deeper lens, consider subscribing, because we are now moving from inflammation control into one of the most powerful regenerative systems in your body. There is a process inside your body that functions almost like a hidden recycling intelligence, constantly scanning, sorting, and renewing your cellular landscape. It is called autophagy. The word literally means self-eating, but in biological terms, it is far more elegant than it sounds. Autophagy is your body's way of identifying damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, and cellular waste, then breaking them down and repurposing their components into new functional structures. In many ways, it is your internal renewal system, and it becomes especially active during fasting states and deep sleep. Research from the Kyoto University, particularly the groundbreaking work of Nobel laureate Yoshinori Ohsumi, helped establish autophagy as a central mechanism in aging, longevity, and disease prevention. What they discovered is simple but profound. When cells are not constantly flooded with nutrients, they switch into a maintenance mode. They clean themselves. Now here is where timing and food composition become critical. When you eat heavy, highly processed meals late at night, you suppress autophagy. Your body shifts back into digestion mode, prioritizing energy extraction over repair. But when you consume light, nutrient-dense, fermentation-based foods like natto or miso in small amounts, you are walking a delicate line, providing beneficial signals without overwhelming metabolic pathways. This is where traditional Japanese dietary patterns become scientifically fascinating. Natto, for example, contains compounds like nattokinase and polyamines that have been studied for their role in cellular repair processes and cardiovascular health. Miso contains fermentation-derived peptides that may influence oxidative stress pathways. These are not miracle foods, but rather biological modulators, subtle inputs that influence how your cells behave during repair windows. Think of autophagy like a nightly cleaning crew inside a vast city. During the day, the city is active: traffic, construction, consumption, waste production. But at night, when activity slows, the cleanup crew enters. If the streets are still crowded with heavy traffic from late eating, the cleanup crew cannot move efficiently. But if the environment is calm, light, and predictable, they work with precision, removing debris, restoring order, preparing the city for a more efficient tomorrow. Now imagine supporting that cleanup crew, not by forcing it, but by not interfering with it. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of nutrition. Health is not always about adding more. Sometimes it is about removing obstacles so that biology can do what it already knows how to do. Have you ever woken up after a light dinner feeling strangely clearer, almost as if your body had reset overnight? That may be your autophagy systems operating with fewer interruptions.